All right. Good morning, everybody. So there's a bunch of stuff going in the news right now. We're gonna touch on a few items this morning. But before we get started, I wanna address something real quick. Yesterday, we lost Rumble like 3 minutes in. I don't know what happened. So those of you watching on Rumble right now, leave us a comment in the live chat. Let us know you're still seeing us. And if the show suddenly stops, if it suddenly just cuts off before we get to the end of the show, like if you don't hear me say we love you and we'll see you tomorrow, the show wasn't over yet. So if we get to a point that Rumble just cuts off, please leave a comment in the chat. And if it won't let you, then pop over to YouTube and leave a comment in the live chat there and let us know what's going on, so I can, talk to Rumble and we can figure out what the problem was.
Someone in the chat,
I suspect it was a minor thing that, just a little hiccup. But if it's something that persists, then we need to address it. So, I've got Mario with us this morning. What's going on, brother?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Someone in the chat did actually say that Rumble cut out yesterday.
Yes, that's how we knew it happened yesterday.
Right now, there you go.
And Fee says Rumble isn't working. That's
McGird. Did you not make the
Rumble is working?
Well, you know what?
We are in fact still live on Rumble.
Let me personally verify this myself.
So, sorry, babe. we are still live on Rumble. So if it stops working, let me know. But yeah, good morning, everybody. I see Fish and Golf drew first blood. Patrick's with us. Danny.
It works. Okay. All right. So, as we were saying.
Oh, Fee says YouTube is streaming better right now than Rumble for the show. Okay.
That's not uncommon. That's
a little different. Yeah, that's a little different than it's just not working. And I don't know if you've noticed this, Mario, but I've watched a couple of live streams on YouTube recently that are not part of the Crowder lineup, that have all abandoned YouTube, but are still kind of in that same political sphere. Right. And something I've never seen on YouTube before, their dubbing is off. It's like YouTube is actively sabotaging some of them. So y'all, keep an eye out for that and let me know if you start seeing that while we're live as well. Interesting to see.
As awful as it is, you have to kind of live with the understanding that having YouTube, Rumble, okay, the ability to stream a live program in anyone's basement, okay, at any time, that is the most anomalous of anomalies, okay, in all of telecommunications in world history, and that could disappear overnight under certain if in a crisis situation, okay. Understand if the government thought it was going to collapse, okay, they'd shut it down. Absolutely.
Yep. Oh yeah, 100%. So. We've got a few stories this morning. What do you want to do first, Mario? Tariffs? Tariffs or Signalgate?
In the Great American Civil War 2.0, you will not be broadcasting enemy positions to your friends in another state as federal troops are rolling in. Know that for certain.
No, that's what ham radio is for.
That's what ham radio is for. That's right. That will be the boomers' redemption.
Yeah, Striker says no combat without comms. You're not wrong. How many times you heard? How many times did you hear it while you were active duty, Mario? The first casualty of war is communications.
Yeah, and that's why if Elon Musk cut Starlink from Ukraine, Ukraine's losing position, it would become a rout overnight.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sean Stryker, revolution will not be televised, but it will be now. It's a different scenario. Okay. Anyway, where do we want to start this morning? Well, we had two main topics. One, we have to, you put it off for enough days, okay? We have to talk about the Signal scandal, all right? Or the non-scandal or the scandal that wasn't. We have to talk about that. All
Yeah,
right,
it's a big nothing
and
burger.
it is, but it is worth mentioning because the Democrats are going to push it to the extreme. Okay, they now have Judge.
Well, it's
Oh
January
God,
6th all over again. It's January 6th all over again. Nothing really happened, but a Democrat believes that they can paint it, that they can catastrophize it, and make it into this massive scandal. And so one of the things to look out for is, as they proved with the January 6th stuff, they can falsify and artificially catastrophize an event. A lot of Democrat voters today still believe that 5 police officers were killed at the Capitol building by
I know.
J6 protesters, and that simply
They
didn't
always will.
happen.
They always will. I have one liberal. There's basically one shit lib in my family. It's my cousin. Okay, and basically I've heard the same thing from her as of 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start with you. I I give up. You're lost. I'm writing you off. You're done, basically. Um, okay, so let's talk about the Signal scandal for a moment. All right. Now, what happened was there was a most of the audience is probably familiar with Signal. Okay, Signal's a really great app. It's a really great communication app that offers encrypted peer-to-peer communication. All right, it is one of the few apps that apparently does not have the back doors, all right, built into it to the for the NSA, all right, to collect upon or to request basically, or for the FBI to issue a request, all right, for the internals of the documents, assuming that they get a like a a FISA court approval. Okay, I need to work on my talking this morning. All right, so
Yes,
right, apparently
basically,
all you
Signal
can get.
is end-to-end encrypted. And their claim to fame is that, unlike basically every other messaging app,
Right.
the government doesn't have just like a free pass to open it up and look at everything.
Right. Telegram used to boast the same, okay, until the French government did a crackdown on it and arrested the founder of Telegram, resulting in Telegram now having memorandum of understanding with the European Union Commission. And if they did it with the EU, then they definitely would have done it with the United States intelligence community as well. Okay.
Yeah, if they
So
did it with any of the Five Eyes, they've done it with all of
they've
them.
done it with all of them. Well, not no, it was France specifically, but if
okay, fair enough.
the way the U.S. government works is if France has inside knowledge on a platform, the United States is immediately going to come in and be like, yeah, whatever you sign with the French government, you sign with us too. That's how we work. All right.
And to be clear, what I was about to say about the Five Eyes, even and France is not one of the Five Eyes because it's the 5 English-speaking countries, right? It's America, it's the Brits, it's the Australians, the New Zealanders, and the Canadians. That's the Five Eyes. But even outside of the Five Eyes, you've got basically the Eurosphere. Excuse me, and that's just the that's kind of the next layer of that onion. So anything that anybody who is ostensibly an ally of the United States, anything they have, if the United States doesn't have it, right? Let's say the United States doesn't have a similar memorandum of understanding. In effect, they have it because we know what you have, and we're not afraid to ask France, hey, you like being alive, right? Why don't you give us that thing you have?
Or it's basically through layers of bureaucracy and how they are intertwixt. Okay, so the European Union, of course, is going to have its own intelligence sharing services. All right, and so will NATO. Well, France is a member of NATO, therefore we will have the access to the same information. Okay, one way or another. It might require 2% tariff fluctuation on, say, Peugeot. Not that the French sell cars in America, but there'll be a deal made. Okay, one way or another. I can assure you that. Now, Signal. Okay.
Nobody wants to buy a Vespa. That's a good way to eat a baseball bat.
I would drive a Vespa, but that's me. Maybe
Mario, you are Euro trash.
Maybe it's that olive oil contamination in my blood. Okay, I don't know.
Mario and I were in San Francisco one time, And he spilled like a
Do,
cup of
do we
coffee.
do we have to talk about my metrosexual phase? Do we really have to talk about that?
Mario with his fucking Gucci sunglasses and his slick back military haircut. We walk into this little boutique and he buys a t-shirt. And it's like a white t-shirt with his gold highlights and stuff on it. And it's one of those boutiques where they've got like 3 items on the shelf because rich people are too stupid to make choices. And Mario buys this fucking white t-shirt and puts it on, and we walk outside and we're standing out there and he sees his reflection in the glass of the shop, and he looks at me and says, "Lowry, why didn't you tell me I looked like a metrosexual?" I just said, I thought that's what you were going for, dude.
I'm in San Francisco. I'm looking, I'm what, 27 years old, 26 years old.
Yeah.
I'm lean. I'm mean. Okay. I'm looking good. I got my hair all coiffured.
Yeah,
all right. Got my Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses on, and I'm wearing a designer like skin tight T-shirt. I'm like, shit! I'm sending the wrong message
like
here.
This.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that was Chris. Yeah, and that's Skinny Chris. Skinny Chris is 250 pounds. Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, anyway, that's why Cameron needs to be here, because you and I can just talk about stories all day. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so then the nice thing about Signal is when if internal communications are requested by the IC, by the intelligence community, okay, what they get is just a very, very basic metadata record, okay, where it's like, this number contacted this number at this time. That's it. That's all they get. They don't get any internals, because the internals are deleted on the main server, okay? And the internals only exist on your actual phone, all right? So they have to break into your actual phone to get your internals on that, all right? Now, one of the, I guess, takeaways from this story that actually makes me feel kind of good is that we have our own Signal group, and we say a lot of spicy stuff there. And I know that if top military, okay, and intelligence, if the CIA director Radcliffe, all right, is openly talking on a Signal group with his associates, right? Well, that's good enough for me. That's
Yep. And let me be clear, for at least 5 or 10 years now, using Signal for communications, especially around the intelligence community, has been pretty standard practice.
Yep.
I won't go into obviously I won't go into detail on where I'm getting that from. That's gonna be one of those trust me statements, because it's a thing that I can say, but more detail would start to wander into the sensitive information.
Right.
But
well,
the point is that it is a trusted practice. And the infamous thread, we referenced the infamous thread, and the infamous thread, it's a chat group. Mario and Cameron and I are all in it, and a handful of other guys. And it's one of those things, we wouldn't want people to see what's in there. Frankly, we don't say anything in the infamous thread generally that we wouldn't say on the show. We say it in world combat vets, dark humor. We say it in ways that the civilian is just not going to appreciate.
Yeah, no filtration.
If you've never seen a retard chain a family chain their retard in the front yard overnight, then you're not ready for the darkness.
Karma Cathedral claims that he's not in it. Well, Karma Cathedral, you might be Goldberg, okay? So I can't allow you that. So let's go back to the story.
We could bring Karma Cathedral in.
I don't think so. All right. So let me. That's how this story happens. Literally. Anyway, so what happened was, this is a Signal chat group, all right, where it's a interagency basically chat group, all right, where they could just like spitball stuff back and forth, all right. Really valuable. Gotcha. Really valuable, all right, for basically because the speed of communication is going to be a lot faster than if you go through the official channels. All right. Plus, it's kind of like maybe an underground way to talk to each other, maybe outside of the purview of the boss, which is important if you and your coworkers are need to brainstorm, all right, or basically say a few things off record or officially, all right, outside of the purview of the boss, just so long as the end product is what the boss wants, right? This is how humans communicate. There's nothing scandalous about this. So they were what was happening in this chat group, which was created by Mike Waltz. Okay, and I'm going to come back to him later. Mike Waltz being the director of, isn't he the national security advisor, right, Chris?
Yes,
Michael Waltz,
national security advisor. That's correct.
Right, national security advisor. He was the one who created this group. All right. And within this message, it was basically J.D. Vance, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, of course, right, and a bunch of other guys,
Mike Needham, Andy Baker, Joe Kent, Dan Katz, Dan Caldwell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically top administration guys. Okay, so in it, Hegseth was detailing the times when strikes would occur in Yemen. All right, and basically what platform was going to do it. All right, not talking about the attack vectors, not talking about the explicit weapons packages, not talking about what unit they were coming from, what ship they were taking off from. Okay, so there's a whole lot of 5Ws missing. Okay, from these communications, but he was basically giving updates as they were happening, as bombs were hitting the ground there in Yemen. All right, they knocked out. So, they actually killed one of the chief bomb makers for the Houthis, right? Which is a pretty good score.
So let me explain something. Let me explain something for the audience, and we've covered this a bit before, but when we're talking about classified information, even at the TS and special access programs level, the American civilian that watches spy movies and everything thinks that the classified information is stuff like, we know there's aliens, or
Karma, Sean, I'm going to get there.
It's all kind of just weird, scary, and there's real magic in the world. No, generally what's classified is you don't publish times, dates, places. You don't publish information that allows for the enemy to strike. And most importantly, names, right? Like if you've got undercover agents, you're protecting the identities of those agents. You're right. So names, methods, and capabilities. If you've got the newest gee whiz spooky radar gun, then that shit stays classified, because as soon as the enemy knows what you have, they can start developing countermeasures. And so, yeah, Mario's absolutely right. There are no specific. There's a lot of the 5Ws that are just missing from this.
However,
intentionally missing.
However, by any reasonable standard, okay, what Hegseth was sharing over Signal would be considered classified. Okay, would absolutely be considered classified.
Yes,
at least for the short term. A short term operational, okay, would be classified. All right, after the fact, because it wouldn't matter.
And now that's another piece of this conversation too. These texts were this conversation apparently happened just a couple of hours before the strikes themselves. And so, like, you're talking about the time sensitivity of the information. Basically, by the time the texts were happening, none of that information was actionable intelligence if it fell into the hands of the enemy. It was too close to the actual event.
Okay. So, all right. Now, this was Jonah Goldberg, okay, a senior editor for The Atlanticist, which is basically Globo Homo publication number 1, okay? Even more so than, say, The Economist, right, which is Rothschild's personal magazine. But yes, The Atlanticist published, Jonah Goldberg was somehow added to this Signal chat group. All right, so he basically had visibility of everything that they were talking about. Okay, the whole thread, if you will, Jonah Goldberg had access to, unbeknownst to the people in the group. Okay, presumably, all right, but he did, and that is a huge error. All right, huge error that this guy would be allowed in such a group. All right, Jonah Goldberg is basically a political activist disguising himself as a as a journalist. All right, I remember Jonah Goldberg. He used to actually be kind of based. I remember back in 2006, he wrote a book called Liberal Fascism, which was a really, really, really popular a bestseller. All right,
Mhm.
kind of an eye-opening book. This is back during the time of like peak conservative. Um, Peak conservative kind of book publication, nonfiction publication. Okay, um, that's during the era where like Ann Coulter was publishing all over bestsellers and such. All right, so Jonah Goldberg got in on that gravy train, published Liberal Fascism, which went into detail about the socialist side of the National Socialism, which was the political ideology of the Third Reich. Okay,
Right.
and basically kind of made the argument that that Hitlerism or Nazism was a leftist political philosophy at its heart. All right, um, I thought it was a compelling read at the time. I I disagree with him. If I were to reread it today, I would disagree with him on certain points. All right, but regardless, I read it. I enjoyed it. All right, and the guy seemed like he was a solid conservative. Okay, despite despite what his name would suggest. Okay. Anyway, so then he
Well,
went on
now
to
he's the suckers and losers guy.
yes, he is. So here's some of the hoaxes that Jonah Goldberg has been a part of. Okay, the Russia hoax. Okay, Jonah Goldberg basically wrote extensively about that. The suckers thing, where Trump basically
He said that Trump called the
besmirched.
World War II casualties a bunch of
Yeah,
suckers and losers.
where Trump was in France at one of our many overseas cemeteries. All right, besmirching the veterans who died there. Right, Jonah Goldberg promulgated the very fine people hoax. Okay, where basically Trump's response to the Charlottesville incident. Okay, when basically pushing the narrative that without the context that is required, where basically if anyone doesn't know at this point, the very fine people thing, Trump was just saying that there were people who showed up at the event who generally didn't want to see a historic statue of General Lee basically being destroyed. Okay,
Right.
they felt that it was culturally significant to leave that statue in place because it is our fucking shared history. Okay, and then on the other side, there were leftists there who thought that no, it is basically this is a part of history that needs to be basically erased and the statue needs to be removed. Okay, no, I guess reasonable nonviolent arguments. Okay, back and forth against each other, and then on the periphery you had like you had the alt right Sturmer Brigade, and then on the other side you had the Antifa and masked Antifa goons. Okay, so when Trump was saying very fine people, he's talking about the people at the core who basically were having an argument over the validity of this statue existing in Charlottesville, Virginia, in 2017.
Yeah,
Okay,
you'll note with the very fine people hoax, nobody tried to make the argument that when Trump said
I'm
very
going to get
fine
there, Karma.
people, that he also meant the Antifa.
Yep.
Right? No, nobody tried to make the argument that he said very fine people on both sides. That means he thinks that the Antifa guys are very fine people. No, nobody tried to make that argument. Right?
Yeah. So and then that was his fake news. Okay, during the Trump administration one. All right, but he goes back further than that. Jonah Goldberg was one of the journalists who was really beating the war drums for our for basically intervention and war in Iraq. All right, he wrote articles saying that Osama bin Laden had ties to Saddam Hussein, which were false. He wrote articles stating that Saddam Hussein was developing nuclear weapons, which was false. All right, and anyway, those are two examples. But he was pushing amongst 25 senior like Israeli or Jewish intellectuals. Okay, that gang of 25. That was pushing for war in Iraq, saying that if you toppled Saddam Hussein, there would be like a spreading of peace and prosperity and democracy and whatever the fuck in the Middle East as a result, which turned out to be entirely, completely false. All right, so That's Jonah Goldberg. Jonah Goldberg should not be trusted. All right, and Jonah Goldberg in no way should be in a private chat group of senior officials within any administration, let alone a Republican administration. Okay, and that leads us to how the fuck did Jonah Goldberg get in this group? Well, it turns out that Mike Waltz, who is in fact the National Security Advisor, created the group. He was the curator, okay, of that Signal chat group. Now, anyone who uses Signal, okay, there are a couple basic things about it. To contact someone over the Signal platform, that person must also have the Signal app downloaded on their device, all right, or computer, whatever, and you must have their phone number. You need the phone number of the person to actually contact them via Signal, all right. So Mike Waltz did have Jonah Goldberg's phone number. Not strange. He was a congressman, 6th district in Florida, okay, for a number of years. He was actually my congressman, unfortunately. I get the worst. I can't win. Democracy's not working for me, Chris. What do I do? Anyway, so Mike Waltz, yeah. So Mike Waltz is a congressman for a number of years. Would it be strange that he would have a journalist, whatever, even an opposition journalist in his phone directory? No, that's normal. Okay. Now, what's not normal, though, is to create a Signal chat group, and Chris knows this because he's the curator of ours. You have to individually add the members of the chat group. You have to hit the plus sign, add this person, add this person, add this person. So Mike Waltz, he either intentionally added this person to the group, okay, or he was dumb enough to just see a number listed without a name attached to it, thinking it was someone else, and added that to the chat group. Okay. Now, I'm not going to say that Mike Waltz didn't.
I've heard that Goldberg's name doesn't have his name attached in Signal. It's just his initials, JG. And there's somebody in the cabinet who has the same initials. And so I've heard the theory that that's where the error occurred. And if that's the case, then this is a simple fix. If you're gonna be doing the Signal stuff, it needs to be your name, not your initials.
Yeah. So, but still, like, for Mike Waltz to add that person to the group is either evident is incompetence or intentional sabotage. Okay, it's one or the other. It cannot be anything else. It's incompetence or sabotage. All right.
Well, there's one more theory.
I don't accept it. Go ahead.
A lot of what's in these messages, it reads it's kind of stilted and scripted. It almost reads like a public service announcement, and it's all it all sounds very good for MAGA, right? The fact of the leak is not good for MAGA, but the messaging in there, like, Vance and I almost said Hegseth. Hegseth. Yeah. So Vance and Hegseth saying stuff like, we can bail out these flipping Europeans again. As much as I hate to do it, I mean, nobody else is. So there's a lot of messaging in here that, okay, maybe this is a psyop, 4D chess, whatever. So that is the third possibility. And I mean, Trump is a master manipulator of the media. I wouldn't put that past him. And then the other thing that I just lost my train of thought. I had another point I wanted to make on that.
We have to.
I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's a third viable theory.
I know. And it is a viable theory. Okay. But I do not trust the plan. Okay. I do not accept a 4D chess, okay, strategy, whatever. Patriots in control. Trump's running some kind of secret psyop. Trump's baiting these people into exposing themselves. Okay, no. That way lies the way of Q. Okay, and we do not. And we are not Q-tards here. Okay, we have to take the administration at its face value. Okay, of what it's doing. Okay. So far, we're in the we're way more in the positive category than the negative, okay? But there are negatives, okay? And we need to be honest about it, or we look like fucking shills. So anyway, back
Agreed.
to
Agreed.
mhm. So back to Mike Waltz allowing this Jonah Goldberg into the Signal group, right? Um, well, why? So why is it that the Democratic senators, okay, and that the media are harping so fucking hard on Hegseth being the one who needs to be fired, right, and not Mike Waltz, okay?
Right, because it's obvious
I've
that
heard some.
if anybody needs to be fired, it's Waltz.
It's Waltz, exactly, okay,
Right.
and no, and he can't claim he had a
I'm
boomer
gonna let
moment,
you take
okay,
over for a second while I run grab some more.
okay. Can everyone still hear me? I think Chris got muted, but anyway. So Mike Waltz can't say that he had a boomer moment. And yes, once again, I apologize, Sergeant Major. I can't help it. It has to happen once every episode. It's not a boomer moment where he didn't know what he was doing. Okay, Hegseth is a Gen Xer. All right, he absolutely knew better, and I don't know what the hell he was thinking. Okay, allowing this to happen. But if anyone was incompetent within this story, it is Mike Waltz. All right, and Mike Waltz. If anyone is going to be fired or forced to resign, it should be Mike Waltz, not Hegseth. Okay, Hegseth is just providing Hegseth is basically just providing the W's, okay, the who, what, where, why, basically keeping everyone abreast of the operation in Yemen, all right, for the rest of the group, all right, for the rest of these senior administration officials. Um, was he a little flippant in maybe what he was posting? You could argue that perhaps, okay, but he wasn't revealing the key details of any type of plan, and of course he had no idea that someone like Jonah Goldberg would be listening in or basically reading their private communications. All right, but Hegseth is the one they want. Why? Because Hegseth is hated by the DC establishment. All right. Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, was someone who was selected outside of that long grooming chain that occurs within the Pentagon for someone to become the Secretary of Defense. All right. It's supposed to be some basically establishment shill with 3 or 4 stars on his collar. Okay. In their mind, who should be the Secretary of Defense, because that maintains all that negative continuity that's gone on since the beginning of the global war on terror, all the way through the Pentagon culture wars under Obama. All right, all of that is they want that continuity, okay, to continue. And Hegseth is someone from well outside of that continuity chain, which is why they want him gone, right? And it's why I consider him one of the most essential pieces of this current Trump administration, right? Of Trump's second administration. All right. Sergeant Major says no one should be fired. The op was successful. Yes, I agree with you. Okay, I basically agree with you. Um, the only issue here potentially is that Tulsi Gabbard and Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, DNI, and Ratcliffe, head of the CIA, they did it. I mean, it does appear that they did lie to Congress, okay, during that press conference, stating that there was no. Basically, they were point blank asked by a senator. I think it was that fuckwit from Connecticut. I forgot his name. They were point blank asked if there were specific details of the strike in Yemen that went through that signal chat, and the answer is of course yes. All right, but Tulsi and Ratcliffe said no in that Senate hearing. All right. Anyway, all right. So the operation is done. The operation was a
Yeah, the
success.
pollen is kicking my ass too, brother.
I'll be all right. But yes, so that's that signal story. Now, of course, the Democrat Party, all right, and the mainstream media have really been they've been throwing basically everything at the wall. Okay, like throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Right, that's been their policy since the second Trump administration began. Um, but a lot of it is just hysteria, okay, exaggeration, basically a lot of BS. So basically only stuff
Well,
that
and
would appeal to the emotional, histrionic, basically blue-haired women that are the core constituency of the Democrat Party. Chris, you're saying?
they're running on pure desperation right now because the the Democrat Party has no backbench, and the Democrat voter base is actively conducting terrorism across the country. You've got the Tesla fire bombings. Did you see the story a couple days ago, Mario? Leftist trans activist went up to a Turning Point, a TPUSA, Turning Point USA booth, and just started attacking the girls at the booth with a bike lock.
Yep.
And it's not the first time she's attacked people. It has attacked people with a bike lock. And that harkens back to the Battle of Berkeley and the bike lock attacker back then, who was identified by 4chan artists by backpack strap. And
he was associate professor. Yeah.
And it turned out to be one of the leftist professors, right? Wearing a mask before masks were cool, baby. A proper hipster douche. But they've got all that going on. This was a successful strike, and tomorrow, guys, the news is going to be all about Tesla protests tomorrow. They're hoping they can get something that they can flood the airways with, because tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow's the big day?
Tomorrow's the big day.
Tomorrow's Tesla apocalypse nationwide?
Tesla apocalypse. I did not take the day off to cover it tomorrow.
Wow.
we might talk about it a little bit tomorrow morning that it's happening, and if no promises, because y'all, I'm busy, but Mario, if you're down for it, if there's any major developments in the Tesla protests, we'll call them for now, then I might do a show tomorrow night and cover some of those details, because I fully expect that there's going to be somebody's going to die tomorrow.
Yes,
somebody's going to be murdered by a left-wing terrorist tomorrow.
I am fully prepared to be a salacious journalist, and if bodies start piling up, I just can't help I get excited, and I have to go on the air.
Well, the guy from Alt-Hist, Alt-Hist.
What if Alt-Hist? Yeah.
What if Alt-Hist? I forget the guy's name now, but he said that he predicts 1,000 political skirmish related deaths by April.
Running out of time.
It's not too late. We've only got about 25 so far. Tomorrow could be the day.
So, Karma Cathedral says the information passed in the chat was not classified. It would only be classified if it were to be collected intelligence by nature of the resources, but the information itself would not have reached a classified level. Okay. Gotcha. We'll hold that thought for a moment, because, as I was saying, the left.
Hang on. This is part and parcel of that same thought. We used to have embedded media that would broadcast operations live. This is really no different, other than some people didn't know he was there. Did you ever deal with embedded media downrange, Mario?
No, they weren't allowed anywhere near the skiff or the
We had some embedded media on a couple of the cops that I worked on, and anywhere that I was working on a cop, I would always have like some Kurdish mercenaries or something handy to pull security for me, and I'd have my skiff right on the smaller cops. I'd have my skiff for me and my two guys, and maybe a technician that we'd bring in from time to time, but like the sergeant major didn't go there, the colonel didn't go there, the top and six didn't fucking go there. They could come up to the edge of the wire and holler, "Hey, Lowry," and I'd come out and talk to them, but nobody was allowed in that area. I had a reporter one time managed to wander into that area, and I had to walk him out, and it got a little spicy for a minute, and I walked him out and sat down and talked to him for a few minutes, and he was really interested in what we were doing inside of that wire, and I don't blame him. I mean, it was interesting, spooky, secret shit, and I had to just keep telling him, "Listen, son, I'll tell you what the food's like here, right? I'll tell you about I can talk to you about my body count, but we're not talking about my job."
Yeah, so we were stationed in VBC, all right, in Baghdad for the majority of my deployment, which is D Main, Division Main, all right. So it's like the headquarters within the headquarters. There are multiple layers to get inside there. Okay. Now that we had a public affairs office, and that was it. You had to contact them. No, there were no journalists walking around, um, as God intended. Anyway, so so as I said, well, in light of given the dearth of real scandals, okay, and most of the scandals the left talks about are basically just Trump actually exercising the power of the executive office for the good of the American people. Okay, for once, all right. I understand it seems radical because that is well, that hasn't happened in at least 25 years. Um, so yeah, they're gonna take this one. They're gonna follow this one through to the bitter end. All right. So they who has been appointed. All right. Well, just say, hey, the first article the first article I published or posted in Signal. If you wanted to bring that one up.
The Bad Kitty thing?
No, not Bad Kitty. That's the last one.
Oh, the anti-Trump Boasberg.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, bear with me a second. Let me set it up. Got it.
So yeah. So look at guess who's being put in charge of a lawfare group who's been assigned to a lawfare group, okay, which is basically it's an NGO, to basically sue and attack the Trump administration over this scandalous non-scandal, okay, none other than Boasberg, okay, James Boasberg, U.S. District Judge, okay. This guy was knee deep in the FISA approvals that resulted in the RussiaGate scandal. All right, and of course, most recently, he's infamous for ordering the Trump administration to return hardened gangsters and terrorists. All right, from their deportation to El Salvador, return them to the United States so that they can get due process in the United States. Okay, this guy he's as activist a judge as you could possibly get. All right.
So Mario, real quick, he's the one that tried to stop the planes on the way out of the country and is now trying to force us to bring those monsters back here.
Correct.
Right? They really want them here. Let me share this real quick because I just got a kick out of it.
Here at CCOT today and visiting the facility. And first of all, I want to thank El Salvador and their president for their partnership with the United States of America to bring our terrorists here and to incarcerate them and have consequences for the violence that they have perpetuated in our communities. I also want everybody to know, if you come to our country illegally, this is one of the consequences you could face. First of all, do not come to our country illegally. You will be removed and you will be prosecuted. But know that this facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people. Here it's
just literally shelves of criminals.
That is almost cruelty in a sense. You can't have a piece of tail like that standing in front of all those fucking criminals behind bars who are never going to get who are never going to get a piece again for the rest of their miserable lives. Like that's rough, man. That's tough.
But let's be clear. My only objection to torture is the only objection I've ever had to torture as a tactical tool is its efficacy.
Yeah.
Right. You pull a man's wrists up behind his back from the chandelier, and he will tell you he's a Jew. Right.
That's true.
So I can torture somebody into saying anything. It's far more effective to coerce and I'm not going to tell the story now, but I've told the Magic Key story about selling insurance many times before. Telling stories, just you'd be amazed what people just tell you. Just talk to them. You don't even have to ask questions. Just get them talking, get them on the right topic, and you'd be amazed. People just start telling you everything they know. It's crazy.
That could be a Rumble exclusive. There's literally a book on it. I mean, the 14 principles of interrogation. You know what I mean? Yep.
I've got a copy of
back in the old.
It's not up on the bookshelf right now. I've got a copy of the source code of magic or the source book of magic somewhere. It's all about neurolinguistic programming and hacking.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, Judge Boasberg. Now this group, okay, is goes by the name here. Sorry, I should have been a little better prepared here. What is the name of it? What is the name of it? So it's American Oversight. Okay, American Oversight was launched in March 2017 specifically to conduct lawfare against President Trump during his first term in office, according to Influence Watch. Okay, so American Oversight has basically hired Boasberg, okay, to work for them. American Oversight is financed by Clinton money. It's financed by Soros. Okay, all the normal bad actors that you would think of. They were responsible.
Well, until 3 months ago, it was financed by USAID.
No doubt, I have no doubt some money found its way there. Okay, but American Oversight is, think of it like a Judicial Watch. What Judicial Watch is for the right. Okay, Judicial Watch, basically their job is to do FOIA requests. Okay, specific, like the correct FOIA requests, get the Boolean logic right. Okay, to get the information that would expose the corruption within, say, the Obama administration, or just within the government. Okay, at large. So American Oversight does the same thing, but for the left. But of course they take it to outrageous levels because they're the left and they can't help themselves. All right. So they do FOIA requests, multiple FOIA requests every single day as part of their basic strategy. Okay, like that's their operational method to overload the system. Okay, and they filed 56 lawsuits against the Trump administration during its first term. Okay, um, so basically flood the administration with FOIA requests and lawsuits. Okay, it's lawfare. It's a lawfare group, and Boasberg is now going to be working for them. Um, and this Mike Johnson, Speaker Mike Johnson, where are you? What are you doing? Do something. This is your job. You are supposed to. You have to get rid of these people. Find a way. And Justice Roberts, what are you doing? Oh, I know what you're doing. You're telling Judge, the 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 president demeaning a district judge goes against all of our conventions. You fucking weasel, you weasel-tongued worm. Anyway, so that's where this story is going to go.
Yeah,
It should have been a
Roberts
non-issue.
is a disaster.
Roberts is a disaster. I think he's compromised. There's probably Epstein tapes on him. Okay, I'm just going to say it. And there's Epstein tapes on Justice Roberts. Okay, I don't.
He may be the only reason we don't have the Epstein evidence out.
Quite possible. Okay, so yeah, so that's where we stand on that right now. Now, a little extra about Mike Waltz. All right, Mike Waltz, before becoming after getting out of the military, okay, and before becoming a congressman, perhaps even while he was a congressman, he was part of a Soros-funded leftist think tank, okay, fellowship. It was called. Funded a New America, okay, New America organization, which is funded by the Ford Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates, Eric and Wendy Schmidt, from Apple, Soros Open Society, Google, an Obama organization, more Soros money, etc. All right, what's Waltz doing? Like sitting as a panelist, okay, for one of these nonprofit organizations that's associated with all of this rogues gallery of leftists. What were you doing there, Mike Waltz? That's my question. This leads me to, I don't know if I can trust you at this point. Okay, you are previously working.
Sure, you do.
Maybe you were just getting a paycheck. I don't know. Maybe you were getting some free money just because of your background. All right, but I do know you were a former Green Beret, which effectively makes you a CIA asset operating within JSOC. Okay, I don't trust you. I don't trust Mike Waltz. I didn't trust Mike Waltz when he was announced that he was going to be the national security advisor. I thought that was pretty sketch. But he got picked anyway. But I mean, this even furthers the case why this man probably needs to be shown the exit, okay, to this administration. Mike Waltz created a scandal for the administration where there was no scandal. So
Correct.
and then he lied about it. He lied about it on Fox News, even afterwards. When literally all that had to happen with this stupid non-scandal was for Mike Waltz, okay, to just come out and say, "Oop, yeah, that was my bad. I made a mistake on that. You know, apologies, won't happen again," and basically just get ahead of it. Okay, but they didn't. Mike Waltz tried to stonewall, and Tulsi and Ratcliffe, hopefully not to their severe detriment, were, let's just say, not truthful to Democrat senators who were questioning them on the affair. So anyway, that's all I have on this. I didn't want to talk about it. I've been following it for a few days, but it's just reaching critical mass, and if we don't report on this, we look ridiculous. So anyway,
all right. Well, we're gonna have to button it up so that I can get on the road and get to work. We still need to get about 10 hours of streaming in before April 1st. And 0.2 of those need to be Rumble live stream. So y'all might be seeing a lot more of me over the next couple of days. We've had to miss a day earlier this week for business stuff, and I've been So we got a little bit of catching up to do over the weekend. And some of that is going to be, me and Mario doing a show Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
On something off the list of deep dives. We'll talk about that more. Go ahead.
Unless otherwise stated, I guess that's kind of a normal occurrence now.
I'd like that.
Hopefully, I can hold it together after Lent because I will be drinking during those streams. So that could quality of content could either we'll see. I don't know. But yeah.
But
so yeah, man, you're in the Rumble. You're in the creator program. I didn't. Did you know it was going to be like that? The moment you got in the club, now you work for me. Now you work for Rumble.
I kind of had an idea. I did know it in a very technical sense. I was a little surprised. Okay, so before we got in the program, I was still living out here, retired, and then around the same time we were getting into the creator program. One of my old contracts called me and said, "Hey, can you come back? All the kids that are doing this work out here, I'd rather just pay you to drive further than hire somebody else, because we got nice houses that need marketing." I'm like, okay, cool. And so I found myself at the same time I have basically made a 30-hour a month commitment to Rumble. I also just took on another professional contract that eats into my available time to do that. When I first signed up to do the creator program, I was thinking, I'm going to do an hour every morning anyway. Maybe not so much. Yeah. But still.
Yep, here we go. 10 hours.
I don't think it's going to be a problem.
10 hours by April 1st?
Yeah.
That's like, you only have like a few days.
I'm aware.
You're done.
No.
It's over.
No. No, worst case scenario, I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning Sunday, and you guys get to watch me play Diablo 3 for 6 hours.
I was going to say, Larry becomes a game streamer.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what it takes to fill in the last couple hours, that's what I'll do.
All right.
And I may or may not talk to you while I'm gaming.
Flowery says do a special on the Tesla riots. But we will. We're just waiting for.
Yeah, we're probably going to do an extra live stream tomorrow night, and then what has become the regular Saturday live stream separately.
Yep. Chat says that Michael Flynn would be a better national security advisor. I agree with you, but unfortunately, like he's been so contaminated okay,
Yeah.
by all the media hysteria around him, I don't think he'd be able to effectively do his job.
And
Not
in all fairness,
not through his fault, but just
he was
because of what was
he
done
was
to him.
initially contaminated by all the media hysteria around him. After that, he's done a lot of podcast appearances where he hasn't said anything in particular that I disagree with, but he has made himself pretty politically radioactive on top of everything that was done to him, largely by talking about the things that were done to him, but getting more into faith and hard conservatism. Like he is a hardcore pro-lifer, right? And I am on board for that. The political establishment currently believes that the American voter base is not on board for hardcore pro-life. They're wrong, right? I find it very difficult to believe that my fellow Americans just want to murder their children, but all of them. But it is what it is right now.
And in closing, Pit Danny says for us to do a telethon. I would like to do that, but I'm not part of like a Democrat non-governmental organization. I don't have immediate access to disabled children at any hour of the day, so I can't really do that. So
yeah, we haven't been trading in that particular commodity. Damn, son.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching today. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao.